morning everybody. I'm Anusha from CSC department working as assistant professor in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. In my videos, I'm discussing about the subject programming with objects, which is based on Java. So in today's video, we will be discussing about some of the question bank questions in the question bank. So the first question is to compare and contrast narrowing and widening conversion in detail with an example. So this is basically about typecasting. So what happens, there may be cases wherein you want to store an integer number into a float, or you want to store a float number into an integer. Such cases may happen. So you have to convert from one data type to another. There are two types of conversions in Java. They are implicit or explicit. The widening conversion is called as the implicit one, and the narrowing one is called as the explicit. So widening means, let's say we are storing an integer into a float. So the integer is a smaller data type, size is smaller, whereas the floating point is a bigger one. So when you store the integer into float, the integer data type will be converted into float. So that means it is widened. The smaller one is automatically converted into the larger one. So that is basically an automatic conversion. Now when you convert, if you want to convert and float into an integer, the decimal part of the decimal part will be truncated. So that means it is creating an explicit conversion, and we need to use typecasting. So we need to use the type in brackets. We have to apply it explicitly. So that is narrowing. That means some part of the data, it causes loss of data. So the widening casting is conversion of the smaller to larger type, and both the types will be compatible, whereas the narrowing one will be conversion of the larger into a smaller type. Now let's look into an example. Here we have a byte variable b and integer variable I, which is storing on 257. Now you're converting this byte I, integer I into byte. So what happens? 257 will be 257 is the value which is stored in integer. Now that has to be converted into byte. So there will occur a loss of data. So basically it will divide it by 128. 257 will be divided by by the size of the byte, and then it will be stored into B. Now when you go for widening, here we have a byte stored as 42 stored into B, then character A stored into C. So here then we have a short integer and a float variable, and we have one result into which we are finding this equation. We are finding this answer of the expression. Now here we are making use of the value of C. So here C will be taking the ASCII value of A, which is 97, and here the highest, the data type of the largest data type available here is the float. So the final result also will be in float. Sorry, we have double also, which is, so D is the highest data type. So since D is the highest data type, the result will also be in double. So the result will also be in double, and that is being stored. So here we have seen an conversion of a smaller data type into a larger one into a smaller, which is narrowing, and this is the widening. Next question is to read numbers into an array using command line arguments and print sum and average of numbers and largest element in the array. So here we have declared some variables sum, then n will be taking the length of the size of the args array, and we have variable max. Now we are declaring an array A, which is having the length of which is the same as that of arguments when that args array. So what we have to do here is that we will be passing the data through command line. So the elements which is passed through command line will be taken into the args array, and this args array we are storing it into another array, and then we are processing our result. So here first we are creating an array which is of the same length of args. And now we have to find the sum, average and largest element in the array. So to find the when we read elements through the args, the elements will be of string format. So they has to be converted into integer. So each element of the args array is converted into integer, and we are finding the sum of it. So this for loop is used to traverse through the args array, and each element is picked up as a string form. They are converted into integer, and then its sum is found. Then also, since we have to find the average and the largest of that array, we are storing those elements into another array as integer. So each element is converted into integer and stored it into an array I. So let's say we are having these elements stored, passed through the comment line. So some will be like, so initially 2 will be taken. So 2 will be in the form of string. That 2 will be converted into integer, and into sum it will be added. So sum will be 2 now. And a of 0 will be 2. Then next will be a of 1. So a of next element will be taken. So which is args of 1. So sum is 2. So next element which has received is 3. So 3 will be taken into this. 3 will be taken and converted into integer, and then to sum it is added. So the sum will be 5. Then into array of 1 it will store 3. Then next element will be taken. So 1 will be coming here as a string. That will be converted into integer, and sum will be 6 now. A of 2 will be 1. Similarly, like next it will be the 4 element 4. So args 3 will be 4. So sum will be 2 plus 3 plus 1. So 6 plus 4, 10. And then array of 3 will be 4. Array of 3 will be 4. Then next element will be the element 6. So that is converted into integer. So sum will be 16 now. And array of 4 will be 6. So these elements are stored into the array, and sum will be totally 16. So the final output will be 16. Now you have to find the maximum of all these arrays. So for that, initially we are assigning the max element to 0. So when you find any element which is greater than max, you set that element as max and then compare it with the other element. So initially max is set to 0, and it will check with now this for loop is used to iterate over the whole array. So max and this array element, that is array element is 2, 0 greater than 0, true. So max will be 2. So max is now 2. Now 2 will next element will be taken. So a of I will be 3 and max is 2. So 2 is 2 greater than 3 greater than 2. Yes. So max will be 3 now. Max will be 3 now. Max will be set to 3. Next I will be next max a of I will be 1. So is 3 greater is 1 greater than max? Is 1 greater than 3? No. So it will go to the next element. So it will compare 4 and 3. So 4 is greater than 3. So max will be now 4. Then next element will be taken, which is 6. So max a of 4 will be a of 4 is 6 and max is 4. So 6 is greater than 4. So max will be set to 6. So finally max will be set to 6, so the max highest element among these is obtained as 6. Then we have to find the average. So to find the average, we have already found the sum here. So the sum was 16 and we had 5 elements. So 16 divided by 5 will be taken, which is 3 point something. So since we have stored the average as integer, it will be ignoring the decimal part and taking only the integer part. So this is how we find the elements average, sum and largest. And here we have we have passed the elements through command line. So likewise, so all the elements which is passed through command line will be taken into this args array, and that args array is used into our logic. So the main thing to be noted here is that since args array will take all the elements in string format, we have to convert it into its corresponding type. Next is to write a program without a built-in method to read two numbers through the keyboard and find the value of one number raised to another. So here we have to, let's say we are reading two numbers n1 and n2. So we have to find n1 raised to n2. So let's say if it is 3 square, then we have to find 3 into 3. So if it is 3 cube, then it is 3 into 3 into 3. So here first we have to read the n1, which is the element whose power has to be computed. So which is n1, and its power, the exponent, which is n2. So n1 is our number whose power has to be computed, and n2 is the exponent. So here now we are initializing power to 1, wherein our final result will be stored. So if any number raised to 0, it is the result is 1, the power is 1. So if n2 is 0, then we have to return power as 1. Now else in that case, then we have to see, for example, if we have to if it is 3 square, we will multiply 3 2 times. If it is 3 cube, we will multiply 3 times. So if it is n1 power n2, then we multiply n1 n2 times, right? So n1 will be multiplied n2 number of times. So we are putting a loop making a loop which will start from 1 and go till n2 times, and each time n1 is multiplied by itself. So we have our result to be stored into the power, so that to that power n1 is multiplied. So this loop will continue. Let's say we have taken 3 power 3. So our n1 is 3, n1 was 3, n1 is 3, and n2 is also 3. So n2 is 3. So it will start now. Initially power is 1. So when I will start from 1 and 1 is less than 3. So this condition is true. It will come inside. So power will be power into n1. n1 is what? n1 is our 3. So power will be now 3. Then again I will be incremented. So I will be becoming 2. So 2 is less than 3. So 2 will it will come inside the loop. Then power is equal to power into n1. So power is already 3. So 3 into 3. Next again I will be incremented. So I plus plus, that means 3 is less than 3, less than or equal to 3. So this condition is true. Again it will come inside. So it will be power into n1. So that will be again 3 into 3. Next again I plus plus. Now the value will be 4. I will be 4. When I is 4, 4 is less than 3 is false. So it will come out. This for loop will be exited, and it will come outside of the if loop also, and it will display the power. So the power will be 3 into 3 into 3, which is 9. So the value is, the next question is to write a do while loop that asks the user to enter two numbers. The number should be added and the sum displayed. The loop should ask the user whether he or she wishes to perform the operation again. If so, the loop should repeat. Otherwise, it should terminate. So this is our question. So here we are reading two numbers A and B. Then we'll find the sum, and then the main thing is that you have to check whether we have to continue or not. So for that reason, we are making use of a do while loop. So initially, yeah. So here we need to check whether we have to continue or not. So for that reason, we are making a use of a variable opt, which will be checked whether if we give if we want to continue, we have to give yes. So if it is equal to yes, then we'll repeat this loop. Or else if we give any other values, then other than y, then it will exit the loop. So here we are reading two numbers A and B. Two integer numbers are read, and its sum is taken. So sum is the two are added and sum is stored into sum. So let's say A is 3 and B is 4. So so sum will be 7. Now, once that sum is displayed, it will ask whether you want to continue or not. So it will, so at that point, you have to give the value y, enter y. If you want to continue, you should give y, or else you can give any other values. So if we give, whatever we give will be taken into opt, and if the opt is equal to y, then we'll have to continue. So it will continue. Then it will again ask for a and b value. So let's say we are taking 10 and 20. So again, sum will be computed. Sum will be now 30. It will be displayed. The sum value will be displayed, and again it will ask you for this option. So if you again want to continue, you can give either yes or no. So if you give y, it will repeat, or else it will discontinue. So if we give, let's say we give y here, so again it will continue. The while opt equal to y means we have to give capital Y. So if it equals to y means it will start again. It will repeat this loop again. So again, a value will be asked, let's say 20, and b value is 40. So sum will be 60, and again you get it asks for another. Again, it asks for the option. So in that case, let's say we give it as n or any other value. Since opt is not equal to y, then this loop will be discontinued. So it will be exiting this loop when we give any other value other than n. Next question is to write a program that generates a random number and ask the user to guess what the number is. If the user's guess is too high, then the random number then the program should display too high, try again. If the user's guess is too low, then the random number, the program should display too low, try again. And this program should use a loop that repeats until the user correctly guesses the random number. So here we are making two variables, using two variables, guess and bound. And we are making use of the random class, whose object, a random class object, which has a lot of methods which will be generating random numbers. It can generate random integers, random float, etc. So the random class object is created, and using that random class object, we read some element. So now here it is also asking for the boundary, like because within which we have to take up a number. So let's say we are giving the bound as 10. So it will go from 0 to 9 or 10. So these many elements will be taken. Only up to that limit with the elements will be taken. So let's say so this keeps repeating until the random number and your guess is equal. So let's say first we have to enter our guess. So the user is giving some number which is taken into guess, and the system will be generating some number which will be stored into num. So num is the system generated number and guess is the user generated number. So if these two are equal, then only this loop will stop. So until this loop is, until these two numbers are same, it will keep repeating. So let's say we have given the bound as 10. So now the system will start generating in the numbers at random. So let's say in the first case, it gave us, it got some number, but which was taken into num, and guess is the one which we gave. So we gave the element 4. So what happened? The number which was generated by the system and the guess was not equal. So we got the message too high, to try again. So again, since they are not equal, it will again repeat. So let's say it will ask us to enter the guess again. So let's say we have entered 5. Now let's assume that our num is 6. So in the second case also, num is guess is 5. So when guess is 5, again it will check the guess and the number value. They both are not equal. So let's say our num is 6 and guess is 5. So guess is 5 and num is 6. So 5 is greater than 6? No. So it will check whether guess 5 is less than 6, yes. So it will display too low, try again. And it will come out. Now let's say in our third attempt, we will get the number 6 itself. So in that case, what happens? It will come here. It will check whether 6, they both are equal. Guess and our guess and num is 6. They are not greater than. So it will exit. Now it will come here. It will check whether 6 is greater than 6. In this case also this fails. So it will come out and it will display the else block. So inside that it is given you are correct and the program will exit. So this is how. So it is the random class which is random class object which is used to generate random numbers by the system. Next is describe in detail about the OOPS concept with necessary examples. So basically OOPS is object-oriented programming language. So in object-oriented programming paradigm, everything will be based on classes and objects. So the main features of concepts in OOPS are object, classes, abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. So object is a physical thing which will exist, and class is the blueprint wherein so the class will be defining all the features and the parameters of that object. So when you define a class, from that class you can create a different object. So each object will be having their own features. So let's say we have a class named A and it has a variable named int. So when this class is and when the object of this class is created, so we can have class A object is create equal to new A. So we can assign A, let's say this is A1, A1's A value to 10. Now you can again create another object B which new A, and B's A will be, let's say, 20. So what happens when a class is created, there won't be any memory assigned to it, but when you create an object, a memory location will be assigned to it and these values will be stored there. So when you create an object A1, there will be an object A1 for class A which has a value A. Similarly, when you create an object B, a value B will be created which is having value A. So in this case, in the first case, A's value will be 10 and in the second case, A's value will be 20. So these two are different objects of the same class. So the class is the one which defines the instance variables and the methods of any a class will have instance variables and methods in it, and when you create an object, each of them will be having their own copies. Next, abstraction is the method by which you hide the internal details and only the external appearance will be visible to you. So we don't, when you just make use of the object A, we don't have to know what and where these data is being stored or how this data is being processed and all. We are not bothered about. So that is just providing, the external view, but hiding the internal details. Next is encapsulation, which is binding the data and which is binding all the data together. So for encapsulation, you can have access specifiers, so by which you can protect your data. So by this you hide the data from others. You're hiding the data from the others. So it's like we are putting the data in a capsule. So we can have these access specifiers given, which is private, public, and protected. So in the private variables will be allocated only to that class. No outside member can access it. So if you say an integer is private, you make use of the keyword private, access specifier private, which makes this integer A as private. So if you create this object outside that class A, say let's say we are creating these objects inside class B. So what happens? These objects will not be able to access this variable A since it is private. If we define that as private, and we have default also. So if we define any variable as private, then those variables cannot be accessed outside the class. Now, if we define these, if we don't give anything as such, then they are considered as default values and they can be accessed within the package. So these variables can be accessed within the package and by the within the package. Now, if you define them as public, then it can be accessed everywhere. So in case we give this variable as public, then this class B can easily access the value A without any hindrance. And if similarly, if you define them as protected, if this variable A is protected, then it can be accessed by a class which is the child class of A. That means if B is inherited from extends from A, then this B class can access all the value that protected variable of A. So that is about encapsulation. Next is inheritance. So inheritance is the way by which one class inherits the features of another class. So we have a parent class A. From that parent class, you can have more than one child class defined. So there may be so many child classes which is derived from A. So whatever the properties are available inside A will be available within B, C and D, who are the child classes of A. And as well as these B, C and D classes will have their own features and parameters. And there are different ways of inheritance like multiple inheritance, multi-level inheritance, single inheritance, hierarchical. There are a lot of inheritance features. Next is polymorphism. The polymorphism is the ability to exist in more than one way. So here in Java there are two types of polymorphism. One is overloading, which is static polymorphism, and second one is overriding, which is runtime polymorphism. So this overloading means you can say it is we have this method overloading and method overriding in Java. So method overloading means we have a class A in which we have a method, say A1 with. So method overloading means same method existing in different ways and they differ based on their signature. The method name will be the same and the signature means the number of parameters or the type of the parameters will be different, but they will be having the same name. So we can have A which is taking a single integer variable, A1 which is taking two integer variables, then A1 which is taking a int and a float. So these are all examples of method overloading wherein you have the method with same name but different signature. So these parameters passed from the signatures of the method. So they depending on that so methods with the same name but different signature is method overloading. Now if we say method overriding, then it mainly occurs during inheritance wherein the child class and the parent class will have the same method, but the implementation will be different. So, and depending on the object invoking that method, the corresponding method will be invoked. Let's say we have class A with method A, but their name and signature will be the same. So let's say we have a class A and we have a class B which is inherited from A. So so A and B will be having the same method A, but depending on the object created. So let's say we have created an object of class A and you are invoking, let's say A1, which is invoking A, and we have B1, which is invoking A. So here, based on this object, this corresponding method will be invoked. So in this case, this method will be invoking the method inside A. And in the second case, since it is B's object B1, which is invoking A, it will be invoking the method inside the child class. So this is about the OOPS concept. So that's all for today's video. In preparing these slides, I have used Herbert Sheet Complete Reference 9th edition, and I have used the Java T-Point website, Oracle's tutorial, and Samantha Sir's website to prepare these slides. Thank you for watching my video. That's all for today.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.